All right, you guys, welcome to the Fam Jam team call. It is November 11th. We are going to talk all about hashtags today. What are they? Why do we use them? If we should use them, kind of all the questions. We're going to go over it. If you guys have the workbook, you can follow along with the workbook as well. If you don't, that's okay. You just need a piece of paper. I'm going to share my screen on here so you guys can follow along everything that I'm talking about. But first, I want to open it up for any recognition. I have a couple, but does anyone have any recognition that they want to go ahead and jump on with? Hello, everybody. Everyone's beautiful faces. Okay, so I want to shout out Shaw and Drew. They've hit the unicorn rank of Ruby. I think they're the first people on this team, I feel like, to hit Ruby. But they're on their way to Diamond. They're literally like a coach away from Diamond, so they are hustling. It's pretty great to see them just enjoying themselves as they go along here. Shaw, that was for you. I just shout you out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for hitting Ruby. Congrats, girl. So
Thank
proud of
you.
you guys. And she's like, whatever, I'm moving on to Diamond. It's fine. And I also want to say a huge shout out to Shorty. Success Club All-Star. You guys, this is insane. So for a full 12 months, she has hit Success Club 5 or more every single month for 12 months. Huge, huge, huge. Big shout out to you. You are growing an incredible business and well on your way to 1 star and above. So really, I'm just super proud of you guys. Okay, does anybody have anything else? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And can you guys see that okay? Perfect. Okay, so hashtags. I feel like hashtags are always the question. It's always something that kind of comes up, and there's so much information about hashtags. How do you know exactly what to do, what to use, how to use them, what's going on? So while this could change in the next 3 months, I feel like Instagram is constantly changing on us. I think that this is really important work that we can do, and we can follow along this workbook to figure out what hashtags are going to work for you in your business, and what's going to make the most sense. So I'm going to walk you guys through this workbook, talk a little bit more about hashtags and what they are and how we can use them to really help us build our brand and connect us with new accounts on social media. So you might be asking yourself questions like, how do I know which ones to use? Do hashtags actually work? How many hashtags should I be using? So we're going to talk all about that as we go on tonight. I don't know that I'll have all the answers for you guys, but I'm going to do my very best. Let's start with what is a hashtag. So for those of you that are newer coaches, or maybe you're just newer to social media, you may not quite understand what a hashtag is. I feel like I didn't really know what they were because when I used to use them before I had a business, I just used hashtags for fun. Like I would hashtag because thought it was cool. Like I really didn't know what I was doing with hashtags, and I just thought it was a really cool way to say like a funny pun at the end of my post by using a hashtag. But what actually happens in a hashtag is it creates, and I like to really describe it as like an album or like a file on Instagram. So anytime you use a hashtag, the photo that you are using or the post that you put up, it actually goes into like a file and it creates this organization within Instagram. And these hashtags then become searchable. So as people type in to search for a certain topic or a phrase that you've said, they can see that hashtag, and your photo, if you've hashtag it, will be in that folder somewhere. The point is to be in that folder near the top of the folder and be amongst more of the popular posts within that hashtag. And we'll talk about how we get there. But that's the whole idea really of hashtags. And it's this organizational system within Instagram. So really think of hashtags as like a Google search, and think of like Pinterest even. A lot of people are using Instagram now like a Pinterest page where they're searching for things, they're searching for ideas, they're searching for solutions within Instagram because people don't want to leave the platform. And so we want to make sure we're using hashtags that are really helpful for this problem that our consumer might have. So for an example, and I use this one because I did this yesterday, I literally searched girl room decor. We were looking at AJ's room. We were trying to find new ideas and inspiration. And I went to Instagram for inspiration because I know that there's a ton of really, really cute inspiration ideas on Instagram and Pinterest. And by the way, you can use this on Pinterest as well as Instagram. It kind of goes on both platforms, but know that that's what I searched. And when I searched that hashtag, I found a lot of really cool room ideas. And so people are using this more as a search tool than what we really realize. You can use up to 30 hashtags on any given post. So when you post to your feed in the comment section or right in the caption of the post, you can use up to 30 hashtags. And in your stories, you can actually use up to 10. So if you type instead of using the hashtag sticker, you can type in up to 10 hashtags in your stories as well. So why are we going to use hashtags? I was listening to the Jenna Kutcher podcast, and you can listen to that as well as this team call if you want a deeper dive into hashtags. But she had mentioned that a post with at least one hashtag can generate 12.6% more engagement than a post without a hashtag. Engagement's key. Engagement is what we're looking for on our social media accounts. So the fact that one hashtag can generate that much more, that increase in engagement is a really clear indication that we should be using hashtags as much as we possibly can to engage with our ideal audience. We definitely want to use quality over quantity when it comes to hashtags. Make sure that, you know, every time we put something out there, it is for our ideal client. And we want to make sure that instead of just copying and pasting a bunch of hashtags, I've done this before. It's kind of how I started as a coach, was just copying and pasting a list of hashtags. We want to get away from that, and we want to start using quality hashtags over quantity. We really need to align those hashtags with our target audience. Otherwise, if we're just copying and pasting, that's when we really start to get a lot of bots coming onto our account, comments that really don't make sense. We get all those apparel reps that start coming in saying, hey, will you rep my brand? You start seeing a lot more spammy posts and comments. And when you're seeing that, it's likely being generated from a hashtag that you're using, and we're not finding our ideal client through those. So I'm going to walk you through how we can find those and how we can get rid of those, because I've had them on my account as well. And it's always the question of how do we get rid of them? How many hashtags should you be using on your post? So I mentioned that you can use up to 30 in a post, but Instagram's getting really, really, really smart. And using the maximum number of hashtags, you're actually going to get flagged. The other really cool part that I didn't realize up until now is that if you are using the same number of hashtags, so whether every single post is 9 or every single post is 12 hashtags, maybe you're using 22 hashtags, whatever that number is, you have to switch up that number every time, because it's that exact same number every single time that flags you as a spam account. So using 10 or less hashtags that are really niche specific on a post is really ideal. So this is where I'm talking more about quality over quantity. Yes, you could use 30, but we really only need 10 or less on any given post. So anywhere from about 5 to 10 is a really great number to sit at when you're looking at grabbing hashtags for one of your posts. So we're going to dive into a little exercise here. As we go through, we're going to dive into more about hashtags and building our hashtags. But before we do that, we have to know who our ideal client is. And we need to identify that person. There is a training in the Emerald section of the FamJam Training Academy. So if you haven't completed the first 10 lessons on the Training Academy, you want to make sure you complete those so you can dive into the Emerald training. This is where you're going to find your ideal client training. But I want to dive into a little bit of it tonight. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes on each of these questions so that we can really work it out. We can really dive into some of this work and not have to do it later. So let's start with answering a couple of questions. The very first question is, who do you serve? So who is the person that you want to serve? I want you guys to take a couple of minutes and just write in that box or write on a piece of paper who it is that you serve. Likely, this person is you. More times than not, it's the person you started as when you started your journey with Beachbody. And that could be a journey that has started really recently. It could be a journey that has been going on for a year or so. And you might have to dig a little bit for this one. But I'm going to give you guys, I'm just going to be quiet for about 2 minutes here. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to really write down who is the person that you want to serve. A girl, a guy, a mom, a wife, a sister, a brother? Is it a working mom? Are they a single mom? Do they have kids? Who is this person? Write down anything that comes to your mind. Okay, 1 more minute. Get really specific on this one. What do they say to themselves when they look in the mirror? What do they say to themselves when they go into their closet? What does this person like to do for a hobby? Do they like to travel? Are they a homebody? Okay. And you guys can go back into these if you want to get a little more specific on these. I recommend you get as specific as you possibly can. Next one, where do you offer your services? Let's get really specific in terms of what city you live in, cities that surround you, cities you travel to, what locations. So we know that Beachbody right now is available in Canada, US, and UK. So what are those locations? Do you know locations in US and UK that maybe we can start talking about, or places that you want to travel? I would start with just local, start with cities that you are in and surrounding cities around you so that we can really look at your local community and building that audience. And then I would pick one major city that is close to you as well. And then maybe write down the countries in which Beachbody is offered. We are launching in France in a couple of months. Okay, moving on to the next one. What services do you offer? So what are all the things that you offer? Write down everything that comes to mind. Sorry, let me go through here. What services do you offer? Quick, I'll just give a minute on this one. Do you say virtual boot camps? What's some of the wording that you use? Virtual boot camps, coaching opportunity, tribe, team. What is it that you use? Community. Okay. Next is, what is your brand? What are the 5 things? We talk about this in some of the training. Pick 5 things that you really want to talk about all the time on social media. So what are those 5 things that you're going to talk about all the time consistently? This is what, one, makes it really easy to come back when you're writing a post. You can go through and say, okay, these are my 5 things. I've talked about 4. I need to do a post on family, whatever it is. I recommend that only 1 or 2 of these things are Beachbody specific, and the rest are you. Who are you? What do you love? Do you do hair tutorials? Do you want to talk about your kids? Do you want to talk about a hobby? Maybe you play music or an instrument. Maybe you love traveling. Consider all of that stuff. And if you have a hard time narrowing it down to 5, that's okay. Write down everything that you love sharing about your story and your brand in this box. And don't be afraid to get really specific here. I'm actually going to shout out T on this one, because on your Instagram, we talked like way back about how incredible your smoothie bowls are. And like, that's one of her things now is smoothie bowls. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Shakeology, but she really has like narrowed in on smoothie bowls, and it's genius. And I love it. And they're incredible. And I want to eat them every time that you post a picture of one. Okay, so wrap that up. Now, using a lot of that information, we're gathering who our ideal client is, we're gathering where they live, what they do. I did put a bunch of questions in this last box as well. You guys can kind of go back, and it really helps you to like narrow in on your ideal client. But now we're really going to look at some of the hashtags that we can use based on our ideal client and based on some of that information that we've already written down. So I have broken this into 4 different categories that we're really going to look at right now. The first one being location. Location is really important. And while we're an online business, I think there's a really big opportunity for us to build a really strong local brand. And it gives you that opportunity to connect with people who are really close to you. You can collaborate easy. It just provides a little bit more of that community sense, and you can become a leader within your community. So while we're broad, and yes, we have 3 countries and we're launching into a new country, don't forget everyone who's right around you. There's so many people who are right in your city who are just like you, who are living the life that you're living and are waiting for you on social to connect with. So consider reaching people by using, and don't use these hashtags, fill in the blank. Hashtag your city is like hashtag Toronto. But consider these options. And these are all the things that the services that you just said you provided for your ideal client. You can put in here your city ahead of it. Toronto Fitness, Toronto Workouts, Guelph Weight Loss, Guelph Boot Camps, Cali Entrepreneur, Hamilton Work From Home, Oakville Influencer, all this stuff, like all of these words, you just put your city first and then use these words. So consider making a quick list of what your city is and the services that you said that you offered. All right, this could go on for a while, you guys. So consider kind of jumping back to this. The second one we're going to talk about is branding. So this is a really great way to start building your own hashtags. And we'll talk a lot about using other people's hashtags, but something that's really cool to consider is building your own brand of a hashtag. And what this is going to do is this is really going to help to build your own community online and help your team and your clients to use this hashtag. So for for us, I actually started a family hashtag before I even was a coach. And our family hashtag was McLeod Fam Jam. That was our hashtag. I used it on everything. Everyone kind of knew me as using that hashtag whenever it was a family post, which most of them were. So I used it all the time. And my whole point of it was that I knew my kids, when they got older, could search the hashtag McLeod Fam Jam and find all these pictures, regardless if they had access to my account or not. They could find all these pictures of themselves on the McLeod Fam Jam hashtag. So from that was actually born the Fam Jam Empire. And we are all about family. It's really where our core is. That is our values. And that's where our branding came in for Fam Jam. So we use hashtag Fam Jam Empire, but you can consider using whatever your team name is. If you don't have a team name yet, you can use the Fam Jam team name or your coach's upline team name, the Crush Nation hashtag. You can use all of those hashtags, or you can build a hashtag for your challenge group. What is the name of your challenge group? Consider using a hashtag for your challenge group, which now gets your clients to use a hashtag when they want to post. If they're posting a story or they're doing a post, a lot of the time they like to show what they're doing, and they like to put up a picture, a sweaty selfie. Every now and then they'll put a post up on their feed. Ask them to use your hashtag and your brand. You can also go and search your own hashtags, and you can interact and engage with your audience. And as this builds over time, it really just starts to build that online community. So the other really great thing about branding is that it's really key that if you are going to tag a brand, oftentimes we'll tag like an outfit that we're wearing. Maybe it's Under Armour, maybe it's Adidas, whatever it might be. If you're going to tag it, look on their profile. A lot of the time their profile on Instagram, they actually have a hashtag that they will use. If that brand uses a hashtag, consider using that hashtag in your post as well, if it's relevant to the photo that you are posting. When you use that hashtag, it actually gives you the chance to be featured on their page and on their account. And the more you can be seen on other people's accounts, of course, that exposure on someone else's account is really good for your own account. So consider using hashtags that other brands are using, or even events. If you're at an event and they have a specific hashtag that they're asking you to use that hashtag. I know all the time when I go to conferences, Rise, for example, I think they had 3 different hashtags for the Rise conference, and we use them all the time. And it was a really great way for me to see who else was using that hashtag, because I would search it and I could see who was at the event. I could connect with new people, and other people were doing the same with me. It also gave me the chance to be featured on the Rise Instagram feed, because they had their own Instagram page, and in their stories as well. So it's a little bit about branding and how to use branded hashtags. Really think the abundant mindset on that one. Don't think scarcity on that one. Really be abundant. Okay, so we're going to dive into a little bit more about your ideal client and what your ideal client is actually searching for hashtags. These are going to be some of the hashtags that we want to use as well. So getting really specific, I would go to your people on your account who are commenting the most, who are liking your post the most, or even who are watching your stories the most. Go into their accounts and see if they're hashtagging anything. If they're using hashtags, consider looking at that hashtag to see if it aligns with your brand. And if it aligns with your brand, I would consider start using that in a lot of your posts, because oftentimes the hashtag that they're using will now connect us with a lot of other ideal clients that we wouldn't have been connected with previously. So these hashtags I consider using on my posts, and I also consider following them. So you can follow a hashtag just like you would follow an account. So you can go in and under the search feature in Instagram, you can go to the top and I would type it in and you can click follow. Now, anytime someone posts using that hashtag, you can interact with that person. It's a really great way to have those posts come up directly in your feed, and you can connect with new people in your brand. So this is really where it comes in on who is your ideal client, because you could literally do this for like years on end, going into different accounts and seeing what hashtags they use and then using them and then going back and forth, but they're not always going to align with your brand. So consider really narrowing it in, get really specific based on who your ideal client is. And even if some of your top people who are commenting and liking on your post, they may not be the brand that you are really looking for if you're looking to really like narrow in your brand right now. So just consider who's that ideal client you just described in the first exercise and what might they be searching for. I really like to think outside of the box on this one. I know for me, moms are a big part of my brand. And I know that moms are constantly searching for new things for their kids. They're looking for products and solutions for their kids. I use the example of a mom who's searching for new winter boots for her kids. That was me a couple of days ago. And using something like that is a really great connection piece for you, for your ideal client. And you know that if she's a mom of 3, a mom of 2, she's busy. You know her lifestyle. And if you can connect on something, then likely she's probably in your ideal client. So I'm going to give you guys just a couple of minutes here. I want you to write in this box, what would your ideal client be searching for? And again, this could go on for a while, but maybe right now, the time of year, the season that it is, what are they doing? Are they a bride? Are they looking for a wedding photographer? Are they looking for venues? Are they searching for DIY ideas? Are they searching for games to play with their kids? Are they searching for clothing? What are they searching for on Instagram? And again, think of the things that you're searching for. Think of Christmas coming up soon as well. I'm going to use an example for you guys on this one. We're really going to get into like how we narrow this down, but think of Black Fridays coming up. Black Friday is something that people are probably searching. Black Friday sales. It is probably going to be one of the most searched hashtags for around Thanksgiving. That hashtag is great. However, consider adding your city to that. Black Friday sales, Toronto. Toronto Black Friday sales, like switching it up, because now you're really going to get narrow and now you're really going to niche on your market. That is going to be a really important thing to consider. Get really broad with this, but then we're really going to narrow it down. I'll give you guys one more minute on this and then we're going to move on. Okay, I have also left a box there for you that you can write down what accounts like and comment the most on your account. So if you want to go back and do that later, you can really write out some of those accounts. These are the accounts that you're going to pull from quite often, and you can add to this as you grow. But these are the accounts that you can go back into quite often to kind of redo a lot of finding what are they searching for, you know, what season's coming up and what's the problem that they have right now that you can try and help solve. Okay, our fourth focus is going to be on your competition. I want you to search your competition. This is not other coaches, but this is other accounts where your ideal client will be hanging out on Instagram. So consider the accounts that you followed before you became a coach. What were those accounts? Because that's likely your ideal client. That's likely where they're hanging out. Was it TV shows? Was it cooking shows? Was it celebrities? Was it music? Was it locations, like places you'd love to visit? Was it brands? Like, what accounts were you following that you really, really, really loved? Those are going to be some of the accounts where you're going to see some of your competition, and you're going to find a lot of your ideal clients as well. Other things that you can consider is any trainers. So any big fitness companies. Consider some of the bigger fitness companies like Kayla Itsines. You can consider Jillian Michaels, anything like that. If you consider those ones, I saw, Orange Theory Fitness. I love that. Consider these bigger accounts that people are looking to get fit. Go into these accounts. And they don't, by the way, they don't have to be big accounts. These can be accounts of like a local gym. It can be local trainers. It can be local anything. But if you're going into these accounts, you can really start to see the hashtags that they're using. And the hashtags that they're using, if they are a well-branded company, if it is a well-branded account, if it aligns with your brand, the hashtag that they used, you might want to consider using it. You might want to consider showing up in that search when people are searching for things, and then they finally start to see your face come up in those hashtag albums. So this is a really big one. I want you to take 2 seconds, just make a list of maybe any local gyms you can think of, any local companies, bigger companies, online fitness gurus, anybody who's like mompreneurs or Instagram experts, people who are looking to really start a business. And if you don't know what those accounts are, just make a note for yourself that this could be project time for you. Take like a half an hour one day and just really research a couple of really great brands that are competition to you. Ones that come to mind for me are like Movati, Good Life. If there's smaller gyms that are in your area, consider those ones. Even like Weight Watchers, The Biggest Loser, that show. We all love personal development. Consider going into some really big PD accounts. Rachel Hollis, Tony Robbins, see what kind of hashtags they're using and do they align with your brand? Okay, so once you've made your list of accounts that are there, the homework on that is that you're going to go into those accounts and you're going to look at their last posts that they've done, maybe like 4 or 5, and you're going to see what hashtags they're using. Those are the hashtags. You're going to click on it and you're going to see if your ideal client is hanging out. Do you see photos in that hashtag that are people that you want to work with? Do they look like your type of people? You're not really going to know, but you will be able to see by all the posts that are in there, is that a space that you want to start showing up in? And if it is, you're going to copy that hashtag and you're going to put it into your list of hashtags that you're going to start to use. A few other things that you can consider when using hashtags is using the day of the week and adding it to a word, a hobby, or an interest. So a lot of the time, never miss a Monday. That's a really big hashtag. We want to try and like narrow that in. But maybe you're doing something that day and you want to add in, I will use this one just because Jared will laugh, Taco Tuesday, but on a Monday. I like switch it up so that it's smaller, and it's not as big of a hashtag, but consider using the day of the week. People use the day of the week in their hashtags all the time. Again, I said this point, but using the hashtags of the event that you're attending, use them of the restaurant. If you're at a location or a restaurant or a building or an event, you're traveling somewhere, the brand you're using, look at their accounts, search them on Instagram, go follow them, go see what hashtags they're using, and use those hashtags when you're posting as well. It's really going to start intertwining you and connecting you with so many other networks. That collaboration and the ability to be seen on other people's Instagram feeds is huge when it comes to this. So we're going to go into building a few more of our hashtags. But before we do, I really want to talk about some hashtag do's and don'ts. This is where we are really going to find the hashtags that are so good for our brand. So I want you guys to use hashtags that are relevant to your post. What is in the picture? Right now, if you took a picture of me and I posted this on Instagram, I would not hashtag cat lover. There's no cats in the picture. Like, make sure that whatever you're using is really relevant to the picture. I could talk about home office, I could talk about organization, I could talk about post-its, I could talk about whiteboards, I could talk about candles, I could talk about what I'm wearing or the hair I have. I could talk about all of these things, but I wouldn't talk about anything that is not in the picture. This is a really big one because they are really starting to use they're using like imaging, and it's starting to scan all of your photos to see what's in your photo. And if your hashtags aren't aligning with what's in your photo, you're not going to be seen. So make sure you use hashtags with what's in your photo, what describes what the photo is about. Using hashtags that have less than 500,000 posts. I even like to get even smaller on this. I recommend you use hashtags that are 100,000 posts or less for best results. Now, I will show you on the next slide quick, and I'll go back up. You'll see here, if you were to search, I just searched at the bottom, like I typed in fit mom, like I was going to actually use that hashtag, and it instantly, Instagram populates the most popular hashtags that start with fit mom. You'll see Fit Moms has 2.9 million posts. Don't use it. It's way too big. You'll see Fit Mommy is 900,000 posts. Okay, we're getting smaller, but it's still too big. Fit Moms Club, 58,000 posts. This is more my jam. So I want you guys to look for that post underneath the hashtag you're using and make sure that it is a lower number. If you're using a higher number, you're just going to get lost in that album. We're not going to get seen in that album because there's so many posts that are already in that album of that hashtag, and we just get lost in the sea. So really consider using maybe one or two big ones for that. Like if you're a gambler and you just want that chance to be seen, use one or two big ones. But for the most part, really use those ones that are 100K or less. Don't be afraid of ones that even have only like 1,000 posts in them. Totally fine. Use those ones. Really niche down on specific topics that you post about in your hashtags. That's where you're going to reach your people. So again, these are where you're going to find the smaller hashtags, but Fit Mom Club, Guelph Fit Mom Club is even a smaller one that I could talk about. That is really going to narrow it down, and it's probably, I don't even know if it has any posts, but it's probably going to have less than like 5,000 posts. Don't be afraid to do that with specific topics because you're not going to get lost in the mix. Use them on all your posts and really decide if you're using your hashtag to inspire somebody, if you're using your hashtag to connect with people, or you're using your hashtag to create conversations on your post. There's different ways that you can use them. All ways are great, and it's no one way or the other. Just consider what it is you're actually trying to get out of that post when you're using a hashtag. Search the hashtag that you want to use. This is something that goes You can do this every single month. You want to see if your ideal client is hanging out in that hashtag album, so to speak. I'm going to call them albums just because it makes sense in terms of organization. But if your ideal client is not there, if you see a bunch of pictures of people who you're like, I don't think I'd really connect with that person, I don't really think we have anything in common, ditch that hashtag and move on to a hashtag that aligns with your vibe and your brand. We really want to stop using banned hashtags. So you can actually do a Google search on banned hashtags, and you can find what hashtags have been shadow banned. Basically, if a hashtag has been shadow banned, it just means that you're losing engagement on Instagram because no one's going to see what you're posting because they've actually banned it altogether. So if these are likely on bigger hashtags or a hashtag that you are copying and pasting every single day for a very long period of time. So make sure that you search your hashtags every once in a while and see if they are shadow banned or if they're still good to go. Again, I would schedule about an hour or so every month to really review your hashtags, remove any of the ones that are irrelevant. Maybe you're using a hashtag that was talking about being pregnant. Well, you might not be pregnant anymore, so maybe you want to remove that hashtag and you want to talk about postpartum instead of pregnancy. So consider just removing anything that's irrelevant to you at that time or anything that has been shadow banned. If you're getting a lot of bot accounts, this is a really great tip. If you're getting a lot of bots commenting or liking your post, you have no idea who they are, you know they're really big brands, you know that it just seems fishy. Like something just seems weird about some of the comments that you're getting, and it just doesn't seem like a normal conversation. It's likely a hashtag that you're using. So consider searching into the hashtags that you've used on the past 4 or 5 posts and go into that hashtag and see if you can find the company that has been commenting on your post. Because if they're living in that hashtag album, that's probably how they're finding you. So you can stop using that hashtag if you're being found by a lot of bot accounts. And they're out there. Instagram is trying to stop them, but they are still out there. There's a really great website I like. It's called displaypurposes.com. You can get ideas on where to start creating your list of hashtags as well. So you can literally type in everything that we've done on these exercises in terms of the words we've written down, and it will generate automatically for you a bunch of ideas where you can start for creating your own list of hashtags. Diving into the hashtag don'ts. So don't use hashtags that aren't relevant to the photo. I talked about that a little bit already. IG is using photo recognition software that really lowers your reach if they suspect you're spamming a hashtag. So if you're just hashtagging entrepreneur, it's a really, really big one, but maybe it's a picture of your kids. It's not really relevant. So just make sure that it's relevant to your photo. Not using hashtags that are more than 500K. I put an example there. Don't use the same number of hashtags every time you post. So if you're going to do a post, maybe you do 5 hashtags on that post. Tomorrow you do 7. The next day you do 10. The next day you do 6. It can be different all of the time, but try to keep it between 5 and 10 and not the same every single time. I would create a list of about 10 to 20 hashtags per the brand that we're talking about. So those 5 things that I said, what are those 5 things you're going to post? I would consider creating a list of about 10 to 20 hashtags per brand topic that you're going to be posting about consistently. Don't use any bots or IG growth tools or additional apps or liker apps. If you're using them, just stop using them now. Consider taking a break from Instagram for 24 to 48 hours if you are using them, just to try and give that algorithm a bit of a break on your account. But if you're using them, you'll likely see really high spikes in engagement and then really, really low decrease in engagement. And that's because we're using all of these third-party tools and apps to help us grow our Instagram, but it's actually hurting us in the long run. I would suggest you don't Google a list of hashtags for influencers and then just copy and paste that list, or Google, coffee lover and see what hashtags come up for coffee lovers. Likely, most of those hashtags are shadow banned. If they're on blog accounts, if they're on bigger accounts, if they're on a Google list somewhere, so many other people are using these hashtags and copying and pasting them in their posts all the time, and you're really not going to see the engagement that you're looking for on your post. So that is not something I would suggest doing. Go into a hashtag generator if you're having trouble with coming up with your hashtags. So before you post, it is a really great idea to ask yourself these 3 questions, and this will help you to determine which hashtags you're going to use on your post. 1, what's the main goal? Are you looking for engagement? Are you looking for sales? Are you looking for a conversation to be started? Are you looking just for connection to be made? Are you looking to be featured? If you're looking to be featured, you're going to start using all those hashtags that are brand related. If you're looking for connection, you're going to start using hashtags that evoke more feeling from people. So consider, what's the goal of this post, and do my hashtags align with whatever the goal of this post is? What categories does this image fall under? If someone searches it, what words do you think that they would use to find you? What words would you use to find you? What are some of the words that you're using in your captions even? Consider using those in your hashtags. So where are you located? What day of the week is it? What brands are displayed? Are you at an event? What are you doing in the photo? Who's in the photo with you? What best describes that photo and the caption? Things that I really love to use, especially in the summer. I need to find something for winter because I am not a winter girl. But in the summer, I love using beach life, lake life. We have a beach house on the lake, and that's just where we live all summer long. I use summer days with like a Z instead of an S. Beach bums. I use a lot of that stuff in my posts when it is a picture of me and the kids at the beach, or me and Jared at the beach, or maybe it's just a picture of the water, because I do that often too. I also do a lot of like sunsets. Instead of just hashtag sunsets, I'll do hashtag sunsets are my fave, or lake sunsets, or Lake Erie sunsets. Consider just getting really specific with whatever's in that picture. Number 3, do I have time to be intentional? So am I being really intentional with my hashtags? Are these hashtags going to connect me with the right people? If you're just throwing up hashtags to throw them up, consider posting later when you have time to be really intentional with your hashtags. If you are being intentional with your hashtags, then perfect. But if you're having problems, then make sure you have that list of those 10 to 20 hashtags that you can go back to. So when you do post something that is brand related and on point, you have a list already in your note file of your phone, or a notebook that you've written down, wherever you want to keep them. I suggest keeping them in the note section on your phone. And you can really go in and just pull from those hashtags and write them into your post. Copying and pasting sometimes isn't the best idea, so consider just writing them into your posts and then clicking them, because you'll go hashtag and you'll start to write it out, and you'll find a lot of the hashtags that you are using often will be the first hashtags that come up in the recommendation of hashtags to use. Those are the ones that you're using most often, so you can just click on that hashtag to add it to your post. In terms of using hashtags in the comment section or in the caption of your post, it really doesn't matter. There's views that go back and forth on both, whether it's better in the caption or better in the comments. If you forget to put in the caption, just go put it in your comments later. If you forget to put it in the comments and it's like 2 days later, it's okay. Go back and just add more hashtags into there. That's fine. But know that when you're using only 5 to 10 hashtags, it just doesn't look as spammy to your audience either. So you can go back in and put those in the comment section. All right, I'm gonna leave this brainstorm for you guys to do later. I wanna open it up for questions, because I'm sure there's questions. That was a ton of information, but I really want you guys to brainstorm now, what words align with your brand and who you are, and considering all the things we talked about, who your ideal client is, what branding you want to use, who's your competition, what hashtags are they using, what are the 5 things that you're going to post about, who's your ideal client, all of that stuff. We want to use all of those words, and we want to start brainstorming now what hashtags you're going to be using. When you come up with your list of hashtags, I would consider going into Instagram, put in the word or the hashtag that you've thought of, and make sure you see, is this under 500,000 posts? Is it under 1,000 posts even? Like, what's the number of posts that it currently has? That's going to give you a really good idea. You can cross things off your list really quickly when you start searching in Instagram and you're like, oh, I'm going to look for Toronto fitness. And it comes up and there's like 1 million posts. You're like, no, forget it. Next, move on. And really narrow it in based on what you find when you start searching in these hashtags. So the last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with, and I'm going to open this up for questions, is when you're using these hashtags, just be super intentional about what they are, but really consider hashtags as a way to build your brand and a way to grow your business. This is a way for you to connect with people that you never would have connected before. So every single hashtag that you use, I want you to make sure that you're following it on Instagram. If you don't know how to follow it, you can send me a message. But basically, you go into Instagram, you search it, and then you go over to tags at the top, and you just click follow beside it like you would any other account. That is going to be really important because that's really going to tell you whenever someone posts something in that hashtag, it's going to start to come up on your feed. So anything that is branded for yourself or any hashtags that you're consistently using over time, really make sure that you're following those ones so you can connect with people. I'm going to stop sharing this. I know that that was a ton of information. Once you really get your hashtags down though, it becomes super simple and it is really quick to be able to do this every single month. Just do an hour and I would literally print this out again and work through it. But do you guys have any questions for me based on the information I said, or anything that doesn't make sense? You can pop it in the chat or you can just unmute yourself. I'll look in the chat. I don't think there's anything that came up though. No, we're good. Is everyone just super overwhelmed by the hashtag game? Hello, Trish. I'm just seeing everyone that's on. I couldn't see everyone's face. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys have questions, I'm going to post a recording. You can always comment on the recording of the post in the FamJam team page. And we can work through them that way. But this is something that is really key to building your business. So really consider doing this work. And when you get your list of hashtags, it would be really cool if you want to share with anybody. You can share in the team page, or you can just send me a message. Even if you want help with them, I'm more than happy to do one-on-one calls as well. And we can work through your hashtags if you're feeling stuck or you're struggling or you just need more ideas, whatever that is. All right. I'm going to stop the recording. Oh, 1 second. There's a question. Is it smart to combine hashtags with another business you might be involved in? I think if it aligns with your brand, then there's definitely an opportunity for this. I will use Kim Fitzpatrick as an example. She has Beachbody and she has Legacy headbands. Legacy headbands go hand in hand with her Beachbody business, and she can hashtag both of them all the time. Adula, totally think it fits. That would really be like, you can really use that as a brand building activity for you. Anything to do with doulas, if it is, I think that I would talk about that quite often, actually, Amy, on your Instagram feed, and start using a lot of those hashtags, because that's going to connect you with a whole world of people who are looking for that service or who are like you and offering that service as well. Does that make sense? Yes, perfect. Yeah, I think that's really great. And guys, consider that. If you have something else, like that's what I mean by those 5 things that you're going to talk about on Instagram. If you have something that is outside of Beachbody, that is perfect to pull in and start talking about, because oftentimes we become a coach and we start just talking about Beachbody and that's it. And we forget to talk about life, and we forget to just show up as we were before we became a coach. And we forget to talk about all the things that we used to talk about. So keep talking about that stuff. It's really, really good. Any other questions?